You are listening to the Will Power Podcast. Welcome to the show. I am Will Holdren, and I talk with some of the most influential CEOs, entrepreneurial leaders, and thought leaders to reveal the secrets that have led to their success. I believe that with the right knowledge and mindset, you can do anything you say your mind to. So if you want to learn how to change your life for the better, if you want to learn how millionaires actually became wealthy, or if you want to develop and start your own business from the ground up with the right knowledge to help you, then you are in the right place because this is the Will Power Podcast. How are we doing, everyone? My name is Will Holdren. I am the host of the Will Power Podcast. Today we have an incredible entrepreneur, and his name is Stephen Scoggins. And Stephen has a really cool story. He has gone from homelessness to becoming a faith-driven, nine-figure entrepreneur, which is really incredible. He's a world-renowned speaker, a best-selling author, and founder of his company called Unstoppable Solutions, where they help entrepreneurs go from not just ideas, but to actual profitable companies, which is such an important transition to make as an entrepreneur. On top of that, he's been featured in numerous items such as USA Today, Wall Street Times, Forbes, and he is also the host of his own podcast, which is called Build, which has had over 48 million views and growing each and every day. So, man, with that intro, Stephen, thank you so much for joining me today.
Bro, who are you talking about? I think we got the wrong guy on the episode here. No, in all seriousness, thank you for having me. I enjoy sharing with your audience. It's funny. People always ask me all the time, they're like, what is it like to go from one extreme to the other? And I'm like, honestly, it was very painful. But
Right.
In the grand scheme of things, hopefully I learned some lessons that I'll add value to your audience today.
Yeah, well, it's amazing you're out here jumping on podcasts like these, going out there sharing your story, and just really with a heart that just wants to help others, which I think is a great purpose.
Thanks, man.
But starting
Appreciate
out, I
that,
want
bro.
to ask you along those lines, which is a question I ask all of my guests starting out, which is one, what makes you want to take time out of your busy day to hop on podcasts like these to share your story?
Man, that's a good question. So I had about 3 years ago, I was invited to be on a radio show in the Utah area. And, when you go on certain shows, different hosts ask different things. And, so I went through this a little bit of this reflection period, and I promise the story will take us somewhere.
Yeah.
And then, so the host says, well, there's a lot of talk about legacy. What kind of legacy do you want to live? And da, 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 da. And for the first time in my life, these words came out of my mouth. And we can dive into this as you see fit, but I want to be Steve Myrick to as many people as humanly possible. So for your audience, Steve Myrick was my first mentor. He was a very wealthy individual, very generous individual, very astute businessman. I would call him a little mean bulldog of a man. I watched him kick police officers off his street that he technically owned because they were aggravating him, not because he was in any trouble, just because they wanted to pass and stuff. And I turned around and watched him give away $1,000 here and $1,000 there, sometimes under a basket of hush puppies and to someone in need. And, at the end of the day, I get, a lot of times it's how did you get the knowledge of business, or how did you begin to obtain knowledge of business and strategies and process and systems and whatever? And at the end of the day, I don't know where my life would be right now had it not been for him. Right. So he's the one that believed in me before I believed in myself. He was the one that gave me a chance that I didn't really deserve. He's the one that continued to pour into me, even when I wasn't getting through my thick skull, so I think at the end of the day, when you achieve any level of real success, or as the world would call success, one of the things you very quickly realize very early on is that success without meaning is completely empty. So, you can go make a bunch of money, but if you have no meaning, you end up empty. And it's funny, after being homeless once in my life, and then also being, fairly wealthy at one point in my life. Well, I say, getting to the other extreme,
Right.
I could tell you that one of the tricky parts for me was I felt the same emptiness at the homeless stage as I did when I was completely by myself, isolated after exiting a company, having everything that you could think of that you would want, or have access to most everything you could think you would want. Wow. And I very early realized that entrepreneurs, as a rule of thumb, we're all trying to create something from nothing. Many of us are impatient. Well, all of us are impatient. If I could ask one entrepreneur, hey man, raise your hand if you feel like you should be further ahead than you are, they'd all hands go up. I've done that several times at events. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I think one of the things I want to do is I want entrepreneurs to become fully integrated. I want them to have their money and their meaning, but I want them to do it from a principle of overflow. Like, a lot of us, we start our companies to earn for ourselves or provide for our families or give ourselves a better lifestyle or whatever. The most successful people that I've seen that are actually happy, okay, believe it or not, I've actually worked with and coached 9 and 10-figure entrepreneurs who are not happy. They
Wow.
have, again, they have everything in the world that they think they want or you could want. They think if they go buy one more toy, that'll somehow bring them joy and fulfillment. And it does bring joy and fulfillment for a fleeting moment, right? You get in that sports car for the first time. You have to raise the doors up or whatever, and you take off down the street, and it feels awesome. You can go 0 to, I don't know, it seems like 1,000 in a couple seconds, and but then you do that 15 times in a row, you very quickly realize, well, you can't drive that car all the time on a normal street. Like, what I'm saying? Like, you start realizing very quickly that that's not it.
Right.
And what I'd like to do is I'd like to be an instrument or a voice piece for the entrepreneurs to have radical alignment right now so they can build a meaningful organization, create overflow around them, and actually make the world a better place. You see, one of the things that Steve did for me, he taught me about legacy specifically, because a lot of people say legacy is, all about, basically, creating this massive organization. I created the next Rolex, the next Ferrari, the next Lamborghini, the Walmart, the whatever. You know what's the most powerful legacy you can do is to leave a legacy inside of someone else. Right. So when you ask me, why do I do what I do? I think my calling, my meaning, my purpose comes from teaching entrepreneurs how to do the very same thing that Steve Myrick taught me how to do,
Yeah.
which is live a life that is aligned with meaning, purpose, significance, and service. And out of that comes the fulfillment and joy of how you steward things along the way. There's enough wealth in the marketplace right now for those who honestly would even profess themselves to be people of faith to solve the vast majority of the world's problems: hunger, starvation, illness. You would blow your mind how many trillions of dollars are in the hands of people who aren't using it as an overflow tool. Instead, they're using it as a tool to just continue to obtain. So I want to bring truth to both. Yes, go create a successful business. Yes, have a nice lifestyle. Yes, leave a legacy within your family dynamic, but also leave a legacy inside of other people. Live aligned, live a place of overflow, live from a place of complete abundance.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think that's my drive and that's my why.
I love that. Well, that's an excellent answer. And to your point, finding meaning, I think, can be the, most rewarding thing an entrepreneur can do. And another thing to your point is that I think a lot of entrepreneurs, especially younger ones, they see the Instagram out there, and
Mm-hmm.
of all the, hundreds of entrepreneurs that I've interviewed, a lot of them have that common theme where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
want to go out there, chase that money out of the roll, but it's a fleeting feeling,
Yeah.
whatever you get, whether it's that Lamborghini where the doors open up, right? And so at some point, entrepreneurs need to realize, like you're talking about, how it's not about that, and it's about finding that meaning. And if you just have success without the meaning, then
Yeah.
like you mentioned, it's still going to make you feel unfulfilled. So, I think that's such an important concept. But in your work, I mean, how do you help entrepreneurs really find what their meaning is in their business? Because I know a lot of guys out there like, I believe in God, I want to build a faith-filled business. Like, what does that actually?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, like, how do you separate that from the other thousands of guys that also want to build
Yeah.
faith? How do you really go about that?
Well, I had an epiphany about, I guess it's about 7 months ago. And I've been talking about it pretty regularly. So this may or may, if your audience follows me at all, they may or may not have heard this, but I discovered, or when I went and did a bit of reflection time, that my entrepreneurship journey did not come by way of overcoming what statistics would say would be the main reasons businesses fail: lack of funding, lack of leadership, lack of poor market fit. There's all these different external reasons.
Yeah.
My success and my failures and my struggles and the time I got it right, the time I got it wrong, really came down to what I like to do is refer to as becoming one part lion and one part lamb. So when you become one part lion and one part lamb, what you're looking for is you're looking for complete integration, right? So you have the boldness and the courage and the tenacity and the resilience of the lion, but you have the empathy, the compassion, the joy, the fulfillment, the grace and mercy of the lamb. And the only way you get there is being super rooted in actually who you are at your authentic core, right? A lot of entrepreneurs, to talk to that point about, us chasing things, what we're really chasing is worth. We're not really chasing the thing. We're chasing the thing that we think is going to make other people feel like we're worthy, not realizing that our worthiness comes from the inside out. So there's really 5 core constraints that I believe if an entrepreneur will take 6 to 12 months to really focus on and do some daily habit work on. We could talk about different techniques if you want. But these categories are what allowed me to become successful and also hindered my success at different times. Ironically, I learned them in moments I wasn't successful. Okay. So the first constraint is what's known as arrogance, right? Arrogance comes in a variety of different forms, but the core form is one is living off your past successes. So you think you'll never fail. So it's a level of false confidence. Arrogance is not willing to listen and learn from people who have been there, done that, got the t-shirt. You know, I've sat down with so many entrepreneurs over the years, and you know, my largest company, that one company was just shy of 9 figures annually, year over year. We grew to 3 states, had 400 plus team members across those states, operations, scalability, all this kind of stuff. And I would sit down with somebody who's brand spanking new. Maybe they're generating $500,000 in revenue, right? And it's pretty quick when you have some experience in the marketplace of seeing where things could be tweaked, shifted, and where things can be accelerated, or things that are areas that are deficient or somehow not aligned with what they say they want to build, right? And it's very quick to see that these entrepreneurs, I would sit down with them and they were like, well, no, you don't understand my market. You don't understand where I'm from. You don't understand what's, I'm like, dude, you're stealing money from your company, man. You know, you got $100,000 in, but you just spent the $100,000. You need at least half of that to grow your business, dude. Like, and I'm saying that from not from a place of criticism or critique, but I'm saying that from a place of I've done that. Like I've made those dumb mistakes, right? And if you're constantly taking things from your business that you need to scale, your business can't scale. So therefore, you become the throttle, right? So this false air of confidence, this arrogance, right? I know myself better than anybody else is the most arrogant statement anyone can ever say, because you're judging yourself by your intent, but the marketplace, your team, and those around you are judging you by your actions. And if your actions were aligned with a 9-figure mindset and 9-figure earning capacity, then you wouldn't be making 6 figures. You'd be well on your way to making 9 figures. You'd be doubling year over year. You see what I'm saying? So there's this arrogance piece.
Yeah.
The next one kind of dovetails into it really, really strongly, which is known as ignorance. Okay. So ignorance for me came in the form of, here, I built a company. It was growing quicker than I could expect, right? I didn't have process and systems. I didn't know that I needed process and systems. I just thought I had to go out and earn as much as I possibly could, get as many clients as I possibly could, customers as I possibly could, service them as best as I possibly could. And that got me over 7 figures on an annual basis. But outside of that, as soon as I got over 7 figures, the infrastructure of my business began to be very shaky, right? Because, you know, I would spend all my time putting out fires. If you're an entrepreneur and you're watching and listening right now and you're constantly putting out fires, it's because your systems and your processes and likely your character aren't strong enough to take on what you're trying to take on right now. So if you slow down to speed up, meaning you slow down, stop, okay, where is this fire at? What's the root cause of it? What system or process needs to be there? How can I connect it to the system before it and the system after it? I use a theology called if this, then that. If this happens, then that needs to happen. I didn't invent it. People in the computing industry invented it a long time ago. That's where automation actually comes from, is actually if this, then that, right? So MailChimp days is like kind of the framework, the general framework with IBM and beyond, right? Yeah. So ignorance is like, I don't know what I need to know, and arrogance prevents me from learning it. Or, hey, I'm not willing to look for this mentor, this relationship, this key aspirations. You know, I'm sure that you've done the study on this too, but every person who's very successful, especially ones that are happy and successful, all of them, even today, still have coaches and mentors. I still have coaches and mentors in different areas and segments of my life. There are people that I go to when I need advice, when I need to see things differently and clearly. That's how I avoid ignorance. I avoid ignorance by constantly having people and relationships around me to help me see my blind spots. That way I'm not ignorant of the things that are causing me to struggle and not be successful. Yeah. Right. So that's the next one. Now, if you think about the opposite of arrogance is teachability. So now we're talking about, the question was originally like, how do you take entrepreneurs from one extreme to the other? Well, first of all, I teach them how to be teachable. right? If we go to ignorance, right, then I'm going down to, okay, well, I'm also going to teach them how to, arrogance is humility. I'm going to teach them how to be humble. I'm going to teach them how to be teachable. And next one is impatience, right? The third major constraint is impatience. You and I joked about this a second ago. It's like every entrepreneur legitimately thinks to be further along than they actually are.
Yeah.
Right. And because of that, you create an air of rushing. While rushing, you make more mistakes. When you make more mistakes, you have more problems to fix. When you have more problems to fix, you dilute the time you can actually use to focus on initiatives. Right. So if you take the impatience piece and you can learn to be the opposite of impatient, which is called presence. How can I generate excellence in this very moment? Not thinking about 3 to 5 years ahead or 10 years ahead or what. How can I generate excellence? How can I reduce my churn of my customers, my clients that are coming in? How can I, prevent them from wanting to work with somebody else? How can I increase their experience? How can I lead my team better? How can I lead myself better? So basically, it's the essence of slowing down to speed up. And as long as you're chasing the future, you can't be present in the now. If you can't be present in the now, you can't correct what needs to be corrected in the now to set you up for your future. You see what I'm saying? So it's basically where your focus is at. So what I try to teach entrepreneurs how to do, it doesn't matter if I'm working with a 7-figure entrepreneur, an 8-figure entrepreneur, a 9-figure entrepreneur, it doesn't matter what level that I'm working with. What I'm trying to teach them how to do is I'm trying to teach them how to focus their priorities in alignment with who they are, in alignment with where they want to go. Right. So you can do you do your 1 year, 3 year, 5 year vision casting or planning, but you do it annually. You don't do it month to month, week to week, corner to corner. Right. You say, okay, well, here's my ambition for the next 12 months, which realistically, the 12 to 18 months is about where you actually have enough visibility to get to. Right.
Yeah.
The fourth constraint is what's called insecurity. When you're leading from, and I did this was one of my biggest ones. Right. So I had people, as you know, I didn't graduate high school. I'm ADHD. I'm dyslexic, quote unquote, have a learning disability, which turned out to be a superpower. Right. But this situation where I had this environment going on, I had people working, in theory for me, for my organization that had 4 and 8 year degrees, CPAs, MBAs, ABCs, EFGs, all behind their name. Right. As you can imagine, that generated insecurity in me. And when you actually generate insecurity or you lead from insecurity, you actually lead with control, fear, and dominance. If you lead your organization from control, fear, and dominance, you can't get the complete buy-in of your team. And what will happen is you'll burn through team members that can actually help you build your thing. Right. So the opposite of insecurity is learning how to have self-generated authenticity through self-confidence. Okay. So being confident in your decisions. I'm making this decision. I'm going to stand on the decision. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll say I'm wrong if that happens. If I'm right, I'm right. Awesome. It's actually using some level of past successes to generate some level of confidence. Right. Because I was never going to go and get a 4 and 8 year degree. Right. However, what I did have is I had an abundance of experience, so much so that my last CFO that I had was paying him very well. And he was very, very accomplished CFO. He had already scaled 2 other businesses prior to coming to the one that I had to well over 9 figures plus, like $150, $160 million consecutively. Very smart dude. Right.
Yeah.
However, I had the experience of the inner workings of the business. So when he needed counsel, I was able to give him counsel. And when I needed counsel, he gave me counsel. Right. You can't get that counsel if you're leading from an insecure place. If you're leading from an insecure place, you're going to shut that down. Right. So I began to have this mantra that says, never suppress your superstars. Right. Sometime what will happen is an insecure leader, what they'll do is they'll actually take all the time and energy and they'll try to prove that they're right so much. So what happens is they suppress the very voices they should be listening to. Right. So what I try to encourage leaders to do is like, okay, how do we get you to authentic confidence where you're grounded and you're rooted in who you are? Simple things. Okay. I have a mantra every morning. I'm healthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wise, I'm a steward of the Most High, and I love you, Stephen. That last one is huge.
Yeah.
That last one, and I say it 3 to 4 times every morning. The very first set of times I said it to a mirror, and dude, it wrecked me. That last one, like I can't remember saying I love you to myself or giving myself, just, hey, dude, you really fought through a lot to get to where you are to this point. You see what I'm saying? So these things are important. The last one I'll shut up is fear. Okay. The last one is fear. If you either lead yourself or your team or your business from a fear of success or a fear of failure, you're going to put yourself in harm's way, right? Those 5 constraints are where mistakes happen, big mistakes, which is why I call them constraints. If you can master going from arrogance to humility, from ignorance to teachability, from impatience to presence, from insecurity to confidence, and from fear to faith, that if you just do the best you can every day, it'll work out. Yeah. I'm telling you right now, you'll look back just as I did. I'm like, dude, I'm X number of years old. How did this even happen? Like, I still remember being the guy that pulled stuff out of the trash piles and start the company. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we like to think that growth in business and ourselves happens at light speed and in giant leaps. It always happens in micro steps. So if you're focused on the giant leap, you're going to miss the micro steps. If you miss the micro step, you're going to prevent your giant leap. It's weird. It's like the thing that you think is supposed to help you be successful is the exact things that is preventing you from being successful.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are all excellent points. I think goes hand in line too with that one quote where people overestimate how much they can do in a year and just underestimate how much they can do in the next 5 to 10 years. And so that kind of goes hand in hand on that. But I do want to dive into one of those topics a little bit more deeply, which is impatience. And I personally noticed that you just want to go as an entrepreneur. I'm sure you've seen it all the time as well. But how do you as an entrepreneur dictate whether you're taking action steps right now that it's too fast, you're not doing all your due diligence? Like, how do you know if you're growing too fast, and like how do you know if you're at the right pace of growth going forward?
I would say you have to become aware of how you start your day. I know it sounds simplistic. Here's what I've discovered. If I start my day at a slower pace and in presence before I jump into my day, I'm able to be grounded, regulated, and consistent throughout my day.
Yeah.
Okay. If the first thing I do is I wake up, I pop on my phone, I'm into my emails, I'm creating what I refer to as what I would define as hustle culture, which is anxious energy. Right. So when you have anxious energy, you're reactive, not responsive. Okay. So what I recommend entrepreneurs do is, this is what I do now. And I didn't do this 3 years ago, by the way. Like, this has been a lifelong journey for me to learn how powerful this one little process is. Yeah. Is I'll wake up, I set the alarm for a reasonable time for my body to actually get rest and sleep. I'm not telling people wake up at 4 a.m. and grind and die and build, and like, that's not reality. You can't do that long term.
Yeah.
You may have seasons where you have to do stuff like that, but it's not legacy or life planning style. So what I recommend people do is you wake up at a reasonable time, you go to bed at a reasonable time, you wake up at a reasonable time. So you get what's called sleep. Turns out you make better decisions when you're cognitively healthy with sleep and nutrition. Who'd have thunk it? Right.
Right.
Meanwhile, the world is telling us go to bed and like work till midnight and get up at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. Like, dude, come on. You're literally depriving your brain from the neuroplasticity it needs to grow itself.
Yeah.
Like, all right, so let's slow it down. So I wake up each day. Most days are 5:30, 6 o'clock for me. Before I even get out of bed, I'm doing that mantra, right? So I say that 3 to 4 times myself. I'll ask, now I'm a person of faith, so I'll ask God, hey, give me someone I can serve today. Speak through me, whatever you want to do. Just let me be of service today, right? And then I give thanks. I'm thankful for I breathe. I'm thankful. And then what I do, especially now here at Safe Haven, which is the property that I just bought to turn into a retreat center of sorts for entrepreneurs, is I'll go walk in my grass. If I was to take you, just like turn the camera, you would see 4-inch tall grass. It's fescue, nickel, and I go out there and I ground for 30 minutes. I walk. I'm just listening. I'm listening to the breeze. I'm watching the water come in. Like, I go find a place that is serene to me just so I can listen. Okay. I'm not speaking. I'm trying to quiet my mind so I can hear my heart. Okay. Your mind and your heart coherence are actually one and the same. If your mind is racing, your heart will race. If your heart is peaceful, your mind will be peaceful. Right. You want to get to the peaceful present state so you can actually hear what I refer to as divine downloads. Those divine downloads will tell you, do business with that person. Don't do business with that person. Scale this piece over here. Hey, go check on this team member over here. It's been a while since you've talked to them. I think they might be going through something. You'll get these little divine downloads that give you the nudges you need in order to take the actions you need to take as it aligns with your strategic vision. So start your day with presence, right? Then maybe go get active. So again, my day starts with the mantra into Thanksgiving, into action being of service. I go out here and ground. I'm trying to listen. I had a journaling practice that I've been doing for a while now, off and on, but I did it for 6 months straight, called What I Hear You Say Is. I pull out a journal. I sit in quiet. What I write at the top of the page, what I hear you say is, and I'll just sit there till I hear something, and I jot it down. What'll blow your mind, if you do that for, call it a month, for 30 days straight, you'd be blow your mind the stuff you're going to hear.
Wow.
And how effective that stuff is for you. Right? It's not, I'm not special. It's not just because I can hear the divine. Everybody can hear the divine if they just listen.
Right.
But when you're in anxious mode, you can't listen. Yeah. So by doing that, that sets up my day. Then I go and typically get a quick workout in, and then I book my day into 15-minute increments. Right. So, so when you and I decided to do a podcast together, I said, okay, I'm going to be with him for a couple 15-minute breaks. It's going to be awesome. 30-minute show. We're going to rock and roll, hopefully serve the audience. And then when I'm done with this, I've got a 15-minute break, and then I'm into my next thing.
Yeah.
Right. So basically what I'm doing is I'm telling my day what to do with it, rather than my day telling me what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. And so if you don't wake up as a person of presence, then you're always going to find yourself being in patience, because you're always going to be limited by your expectations.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
That's so true. And not just that, but it makes you like your whole day, you're just in reactive mode, where like your point, you're not actively thinking ahead. You're just reacting to what's happening to you. And that makes you anxious over time. And I love that divine downloading concept. I definitely love that. That's
I encourage everybody watching and listening to just do it for 30 to 45 days.
Yeah.
Seriously. Make it one of the first things you do in the morning before you jump into your day, before you like have to start answering phone calls. And I guarantee you there is a divine being that wants to communicate with you if you just listen.
Yeah, absolutely. And this whole concept, I just love it though, because to me, I think a lot of people see these entrepreneurs that are absolutely crushing it, 8-figure, 9-figure entrepreneurs, and they're like, man, these guys have something special that I don't have. And in reality, that's really just not the case. What better at is the fundamentals. And fundamentals, like you says, having that rhythm on repeat where you do these fundamental things every single day, and good things are going to happen afterwards after that, right? But you got to get the fundamentals. You can't handle these small things. You're not going to handle the bigger things. So
that's right.
That's such a key point.
The fortune is always in the fundamentals.
Yeah.
It's not in the ninja hacks. It's not in the 6 tricks to do this or the 7 hacks to do that. It's like, just be consistent. Yeah. Consistency will take you much, much, much further than trying to come up with some nifty little ninja hack that's going to last for a month.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's lasts a lot longer. So before we're out of time, just a couple more questions I want to ask you.
Sure.
One, you talked a lot about mentorship, which is a common theme on our podcast as well. And you said at every level, you need to have a new mentor that can step in and kind of explain to you how to go, take that next step. But how do you really go about finding these mentors? I mean, is it really just going to a mastermind? Is it, just networking through other people that or how do you go about finding that perfect mentor to help you take that next step?
So the good news is we can build on what we've already talked about. Okay. Because when you become more present, you start moving away from force and more into flow. There's an old adage that says, when the student is ready, the mentor will appear. Okay. I have found that to be absolutely true. Once I'm actually ready to level up and finally listen and finally humble myself and finally be willing to look at other things in my life and myself from an objective place, not a judgmental place, not a guilty place, not a shameful place, the right mentor shows up. So basically, if you ask for that mentor to appear and you're sincerely ready for that mentor to appear, you're going to get lots of little people. I say little people, but in general, lots of mentor opportunities. Okay. So the next trick is okay, well, if I get 5 or 6 different mentors, potentials that come across my path, maybe it is at a mastermind. I've met some of mine at a mastermind. I've met some of mine at live events. I've met some of mine at a restaurant, right? That's what I'm saying. That I don't know that there's a specific place you go. Now, there is something powerful about what they call the collective cognitivity of being in a mastermind event, or being in a relationship or a retreat, or being in an area where like-minded people are trying to do like-minded things. Okay. Right. That it's a cognitive raise of vibration, so to speak. However, with mentorship specifically, you can meet your mentors pretty much anywhere if you're open. Right. Yep. Now, when you do that, the next phase is, well, how do I choose the mentor? Okay. So the first thing I would be self-aware of is, where do I need mentorship first? Is it how I handle finances? Is it how I handle my business? Is it how I handle my leadership? Is it how I handle my team? Is it how I handle my family? And basically, all you do to figure that out is just look where you're not getting the results that you want, right? And look at and then say, okay, if I got a better result here, would it lift the other things? And basically, you begin to work your way to a common denominator. So let's say for a second that the mentor you're looking for is a scalability expert. Let's say you've been hovering just under 7 figures. You've been trying to break through the 7-figure, which is, by the way, the hardest to break through. Of all the entrepreneur parts of the journey, the 7-figure, like getting that $1 million in annual top line revenue consistently tends to be the most difficult. About 90% of entrepreneurs, give or take 86, 87%, I've seen different ratios, never actually do it. Wow. Right. Again, it becomes down to because they're the bottleneck, right? You as the leader, you as the entrepreneur, you as the aspiring achiever are the bottleneck. You fix you, everything else will start to take care of. I say fix is a strong word. You look at your blind spots and work on the blind spots. Everything will start to take shape. Yeah. Once you identify a direction, okay. So let's say I need someone is uniquely skilled. They've gone from 7 figures to 8 figures in a specific niche or a niche like mine, and they have a model that I know, like, and respect. I know that person is honest. I know that person has character. I know that person is loved or not necessarily admired and loved by their team, but their team respects him or her, right? They perform. They want to perform as part of this team. Okay. They're not performing out of fear. They legitimately want to be part of this person's like ecosystem. Okay. David Meltzer is a great example. People love David Meltzer. He's a good friend. He's an awesome guy. Yeah. Right. But he treats his team well. He treats his family well. He lives a holistic life. He lives authentically. Like, so it's like, okay, dude, well, you've done more than I have. Riddle me this, Batman. Share some stuff with me. Right. So it's like, where do I need the help? Okay. And then I look at things through a character filter. Do they have the character qualities of the person I want to become and the business I want to build? Okay. Once you have that, now it comes down to access. Do I have access to that person? And in some cases, yes, in order to get access to that person, if you want one-to-one or a community-based thing, you may have to pay into a mastermind. You may have to pay into a program, right? Because people like myself, historically, we don't have a lot of time. Right. I mean, it's a situation of my time is valuable. I need to be over here. I need to be over here. I need to be over here because I'm looking for my own leverage points. How do I help the most amount of people in the shortest amount of time? And what sometimes makes sense for me is I might want to get on a call with 50 or 100 entrepreneurs at one time. Right. Right. And field questions and stuff like that to serve. Because every time one asks me a question, 6 other people have the same question. Yeah. Right. So now it becomes about access. So you might do a mastermind, you might do an event, you might do you might pay for a one-to-one coaching program. You might, if you don't have a lot of financial resource, the easiest way right now to actually get that education, once you've ran them through, this is where I need the help, this is the mentor that I need, is like, does this mentor already produce content somewhere else I can consume for free? YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, like, where can I get the content that I need? I will tell you that while short form content like TikTok and Instagram and even YouTube shorts generates buzz and interest, it almost gives you too many ideas to execute. Yeah. So what I recommend is long form content. If you're looking for long form content for free, you can also get a sense on whether or not that person is genuine or not if you watch enough of their content to make sure the character aligns. So those are my methods of mentorship. We call it the historical mentor. A good buddy of mine, Doug Stewart, had this process. He used to call it the 4.5 mentors. So it's the historical mentor, the peer-to-peer mentor, the what we call the video mentor, or the you know what I'm saying? Like, there's lots of different ways to get your mentorship in place now. Yeah. Yeah. And more resources than ever. Like you mentioned, YouTube University. So just got to go out there and find them. Just one caveat. I don't mean to cut you off. This is super important. Learn and apply. Don't just learn, apply. So go learn a concept, go apply a concept, see the result. Okay. Before you go learn another concept to, in theory, apply another concept. Right now in today's time, I'm seeing way too many people who are binge watching content, masterminds, events. They're just binge watching, binge consuming, but they're not applying anything. Yeah. Until you apply it, you won't get the experience of it. Yeah. See it in action. So one of my last questions I really want to ask you is, what was the biggest moments where you've seen faith come into your life and just
completely just changed the trajectory of what you're expecting?
I don't know that there's one biggest moment, honestly. The biggest moment of faith transformation for me is after I spent 5 years as a very dedicated, a very astute, very studied up atheist.
Wow.
I spent 5 years in that, and I was just coming out of the homeless, I was coming out of the back, almost like the backside of the homeless journey, about to come out. Ran into a lot of self-worth stuff during that time, and my brother invited me to go clean a litter box to earn $50. I didn't have any money, so I went to go do it. Just to save on time, let's just say that I found myself while cleaning this litter box, while going through an experience, um, screaming at the top of my lungs at a God I said I didn't believe in. And I remember uttering the words, something along the lines, if you're so blankety blank real, why don't you prove it? And something took my legs out from under me and pinned me to the floor. And as you can anticipate, I was not expecting a response.
Right.
Just so to say I had the proverbial fear of God in me is an understatement. But
Wow.
I do remember hearing in my soul, it's like, are you ready to surrender? And in that moment, I did. And in that moment, I also heard that, okay, now I can, there's something along the lines of, now I can bless you. Okay. Now,
Wow.
historically, that sounds like a pretty profound experience. And granted, I'm leaving out a lot of details. But I have told the story online before, and it's also in my very first book that in 2014, the Journey Principles, for those who want to go check it out. But I would tell you that 2.5 days later, I was back on Steve Myrick's job site, which that in of itself was a small miracle because I had betrayed him basically a year before, after he put in a business for myself and gave me everything I could use to be successful. I got involved in a toxic relationship with a girl and some other things, and it kind of wrecked the whole thing. Went on an identity search.
Gotcha.
But 2.5 days later is when I started the company out of the trash pile of the construction site, the one that I sold in 2023. After founding it, building it, and stewarding it, if you will, for 25 years. So when people say, "Well, that seems like a hard thing to believe," I'm just like, I don't find it that hard to believe because now I have history to look back on. Like
Right.
I know for a fact that without that moment in time, I would not be sitting here talking to you in this capacity. You might be loaning me food at McDonald's. I mean, I was literally so if there's one word I would encourage your audience with is if they haven't ever really leaned into their faith, or even developed a faith, or maybe they were like me, they're just very angry with God. Because the first half of my year, my life was a bit of a crapshoot, right? I had parents gone and doing their own things. I was very angry, and I was like, well, if God was real, how come he doesn't love, if he loved me, then why was he? And then I realized the entire time that is the birth moment, the acorn of the oak tree, if you will, of who I became or who I've become thus far, hopefully with more to go. So I would encourage your audience, if they haven't done that, just start with that journaling practice we talked about a minute ago. What I hear you say is just listen. Listen to truth that you never thought you'd ever hear about yourself, about your possibilities. I do not think that I'm unique or special. I think that anything and everything that I've been through, walked through, grown through, if someone is willing to pay that price, they can exhibit and experience the same level of joy and fulfillment that I have at different moments and times. But they also need to understand that the journey of growth never stops. So it's like repeatedly getting conceived and born on a regular basis. Like, what I'm saying, I literally think I've lived. If they say cats have 9 lives, I think I'm on life number 10 right now in this short, 49-year window.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that is yeah, it's a pretty amazing event, and you're definitely a crazy role model, crazy awesome role model.
I hope that's a term of endearment.
Yeah, term of endearment. Yeah, I think it's hard to find a story more inspiring than yours. So I appreciate you coming on here and sharing it. Before we hop off, though, is there anything else you would like to say? And if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to go about and find you?
Oh man, thanks for that. I think one of the things I've been really adamant, as we probably talked about today, is like the importance of being aligned and integrated. And integration, in the word terms align, don't get the study that I think they need to. So I created a tool to help you understand where you're aligned and where you're not. The good news is is it's a 7-question quiz of survey of sorts. You go through the questions. It gives you very detailed results on where you're at in your journey. It gives you some insights on what needs to happen next. And the best part is I'm not trying to sell you a stinking thing. It's a gift. It comes with like a 40-page workbook for you to really work on it, because I realized that I feel like in my time in life right now, I feel like God has called me to be a leader of leaders, right? So if I can help a leader go and create momentum in their own mission, then I'm making an impact. So to find that, you go to stephenscoggins.com/alignment. So Stephen with a PH, Scoggins is SCOGGINS.com/alignment. With that, or I just should say slash, because sometimes / and / get confusing, but / alignment. You can do the free quiz and tool there. If you love that, then I invite you to just, maybe check us out on Instagram or TikTok or wherever you consume content. If we say something that you love, then just let us know. Like, throw it in the comments, let us know. Yeah, man, dude, I'm super proud of you and what you're working on, man. You ought to be really proud of yourself. I wish I was as wise as you are at your age. So
I definitely appreciate it. Got a long way to go. But
my
all right, guys, go check that out. And Stephen Scoggins, thank you so much for joining me today.
pleasure. Take care.